but I was young enough that there's no way my parents would have let me see this. Although they let me read Silence of the Lambs in 4th grade. And
nice.
I am telling
Great book.
you.
Great book. Thomas Harris. Yeah. Hello, friends. Welcome to our program, which is the scary movie. I'm doing Christopher Walken, the Scary Movie Project here. It's live. And we're glad you're here. You have you again. On today's episode, we will avenge anyone's death. As well, we're talking about a movie that, you know what? All right, just it's not a horror film, okay? It's just not. I'm just going to say it, whatever. I'm going to be honest about it. But I don't really care because it's my show and I want to talk about it. Because I want to talk about The Crow on this program forever, right? So today, we're talking about The Crow. There are elements of horror, right? There's scary stuff. It's moody. It's dramatic. But that's okay because you guys are going to love it. And we're going to talk about it. And my friend Sara Alepin is here with us again today. And she's excited to talk about The Crow too, right? Aren't you? Very, very excited?
I'm very, very excited.
Okay, good. Yes, I love this film, right? This was, well, it's a very famous film for a lot of reasons, right? And unfortunately for one bad reason, I guess, because Brandon Lee, of course, died during the filming of this movie, right? But I think it's great. It's kind of this, I don't know, generational film in a way, maybe I want to say. Because I was of the age, I'm not going to date myself here, of when it came out. But it was like, oh man, I wanted to see it so badly, right? It was very, very dark, right? Very kind of Tim Burton in a way too. We can touch on it in a minute, but quickly, right? So it's Devil's Night in Detroit, right? Which, if anyone doesn't know, Devil's Night used to be, it's the night before Halloween, and it's here's your history of Halloween part 2 for you, right? So in a lot of places, it's called like Gate Night or Cabbage Night. It used to be called, like, right? The night before Halloween was a night to do pranks and like soap windows and things like that. And Devil's Night is in Detroit, and they used to start fires all over the city, and it used to be just really, really bad. I don't think it's much of a thing anymore. But this takes place in Detroit on Devil's Night, and a couple, this gang breaks into their house. They say they had warrant to for eviction notice. They didn't pay. They rape this woman, they kill this woman, and they kill her boyfriend too. It's pretty brutal. And they toss him out a window, right? And fast forward, a year later, we see. Well, actually, before that even happens, we see this young girl out on the street with Ernie Hudson, who's in the film, of course, from Ghostbusters, and he's a cop. And he's saying, "Oh, she'll be fine." And of course, the girl says, "No, she's not going to be fine. Whatever, you're lying to me." And we find out later that she's kind of like, he thinks this girl Sarah is this woman Shelley's sister, but she's just like her friend, I guess. She's like. How old would Shelley be? Did we ever find out how old they would be, Eric and Shelley? They must be in their 20s, right?
Yeah, they were like, I'm going to guess 23, 24.
Yeah, and she's like, and the girl Sarah's probably like 13 or 14, right? So they both die, and a year later, a crow comes back to the gravesite and boom, brings back Eric Draven, who is the man that was killed, right? And he comes back, and he's going to avenge all the deaths of everyone that killed himself and his girlfriend. And it's this gang that runs through Detroit, and it's run by this one guy named Top Dollar, who's kind of their, I don't know, he's their capo, I guess you want to say, right? And I remember this guy, the actor, he is from, I remember him as the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood, right?
That's where he's from.
Uh-huh. I don't remember the actor's name, but that's what he's been in stuff, of course, but that's what I remember him from. Do you remember? Yes. I love that movie with Kevin Costner. Yes. Yep. He was the Sheriff of Nottingham.
I'm turning red that I didn't realize.
No. No, my God. No. What am I saying? He's not the Sheriff of Nottingham. No. What's his face is the Sheriff of Nottingham from Die Hard. He just died a couple years ago. God, what the heck? See, I'm messing up my movies now. This is terrible.
Wait.
No. The Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood is... Oh, God, we got to look this up now. Oh, no. What is Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman plays the Sheriff of Nottingham. But this guy is like the right-hand man, the sheriff's right-hand man or whatever. That's who this guy plays, who plays Top Dollar. All right, we just confused the audience and now turn the show off. Sorry.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. He's Top Dollar. Anyway, go back to The Crow. And he runs Detroit. Tony Todd, horror fans love is like Top Dollar's right-hand man, which is pretty cool. And he's got, what's her name? Bai Ling, who plays like his girl, right? Who says it's his sister, which is bizarre, whatever. I don't know what that means.
Super
But,
creepy dynamic there.
Yeah, we get to that. So his boys, his henchmen, Fun Boy, Tintin, and all the other dudes, Eric comes back and kills them all, right? So he comes back and slowly he starts to learn things like about what happened, and he has these powers. The Crow, basically, as anyone wants to know, the Crow is his telepathic link, right? The Crow brings him back. It brings him to this world. It helps him. It guides him. It moves him through. So after he goes back to his apartment and he has to relive that horrible night again, which, by the way, I love how the police tape is up still a year later. I mean, it is Detroit. It's kind of a crap to, it's a dump.
And it was an evicted apartment.
They probably never did anything with it anyway. So he comes back and that's where he has the cool white, the white face paint, which is awesome. And he comes back and he goes and he kills, I guess, Tintin first, right? The guy with the knives. And I love when he's attacking him and he sees my two friends, they don't miss, and tells him, try again, try harder. And he keeps catching the knives and he slices them up. And then he makes that outline of the Crow up on top of the building, right? So he gets rid of him first. Then he goes to the pawn shop because they took her ring. And that sleazeball that runs the pawn shop, he goes in there and he finds the ring and he sets the place on fire. But he doesn't kill the dude because he wants him, I guess, to spread the word or whatever. Who does he kill next? Who was the next one he kills?
He puts all the rings except for her engagement ring into the gun and then shoots and with all the rings. Which
I love the part where he walks out and he said it and he goes, "Do I smell gasoline?" And the owner's like, "Oh crap!" And he just blasts it and blows the whole place up. Yeah, that was awesome. I love it. The action and explosion stuff is pretty good in this film. I think I heard a word for it. It was a Gothic superhero film is the word on the words I think I heard for it.
I could see that.
I don't know that I've ever heard that before. I think he kills Fun Boy next. So they go to the bar, and that's when they're taking shots. They're taking bullets. They're actually putting bullets in their shot glass and taking a shot of it. I don't think I would do that. And I also don't encourage anyone listening to do that either, because you could probably die from doing that.
Seems like a good way to get things that aren't supposed to be in your body.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. So Fun Boy, and that girl Sarah's mother, she's a total drug addict, and she works at the bar. And they go upstairs and they're shooting up or whatever. And Eric comes in, of course, and the guy shoots him at point blank. And he just realizes, you can shoot me all you want because your bullets don't do anything to me. And he heals. And the guy's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" So then he takes 20 syringes of morphine and kills him with his own stash, basically. And he finds the mother and tells her, he says some line to her mom is the word on the lips of children everywhere, or something like that. Basically telling her, go be a mother to your child. Stop doing this to yourself. So he's kind of trying to be this vigilante and role model at the same time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Right. So he kills those two. And then I think next then he goes after, who does he go after? Oh, well, before this, he's also seeing the police officer, Ernie Hudson's character, who he's kind of having this weird relationship with, because Ernie Hudson's like, "Dude, I saw you die. I saw your girlfriend die. What's up?" And he goes into his house and visits with him and tells him all this stuff and explains "I don't know what I am, but I'm here to do these things. And, I'm invincible," basically. And there's one scene I love where the first time he kind of sees him is after he blows up the gun store, and he's walking down the street, and Ernie Hudson's character says, "Don't move." He says, "You're dead if you make one more move." And he says, "And I say, I'm dead and I move." And he has these little lines throughout the film that I think are just kind of funny like that, these great lines. And as the movie kind of moves along, also Sarah's always missing them and wondering where they are. And she's always riding around on her skateboard. And that one scene where he grabs her, Eric pulls her out of the street before she gets hit by a car on her skateboard.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Whatever, this sucks. All it does is rain all the damn time." And he goes, "Can't rain all the time." And she goes, "Eric?" And she turns and looks, but he's gone. And she finds out because that was one of the lines of his song he and his band had, or something like that. So she kind of realizes maybe he's back. And then she finally does see him. She's mad at him because she keeps saying, "Why won't you show yourself? Come back and see me." And he finally does come to see her, but he says, "I can't be friends with you anymore or whatever, because I'm dead. I'm here to do this mission. I'm here to finish this job." Then he basically goes off. I think he kills what's the guy's name? I can't remember the dude's name with the car, but he what's the guy's name? I don't remember. The dude driving the car, and he finds him by that wharf or whatever, and he tapes him to the car. And the guy's sitting there telling him, there ain't no, I saw you die, man. There ain't no coming back, man. There ain't no coming back. And he just basically tapes him to the car and puts his foot to the gas and drives him off the wharf, and the car explodes like a bunch of dynamite. And there's that one dude left who's like a total like junkie. And that's when he shows up at Top Dollar's place, and he's like, "Oh, this guy's going crazy. He killed my buddy." And he's all crazy. And they basically, I think they end up killing him. So all the dudes are dead. But of course, he's got to go after Top Dollar, right? He's got to go find this dude. So Bai Ling, who's, again, so the sis, was he serious when he says that's his sister? Because he's
honestly,
nailing.
I mean, it was.
I don't know if I got that part.
Right? That is not in my trivia, and honestly I tried to look it up because it was like it just like grossed me out as someone that has a brother. It like really grossed me out. You probably also had like a very similar reaction.
It was very like it had to have been like a joke, but then I realized like, okay, I don't know if it is a joke or not, but
I don't know. It didn't seem like a joke. And it kind of goes with his, like, I'm a horrible person persona.
Well, he is, and he sleeps with a bunch of women because he had some other naked woman in the bed that one scene anyway. So it's like, okay, you clearly, nothing bothers you. So if it is your sister, you obviously don't care.
Yeah, it's really disturbing, though.
Very.
She's, like, really sexualized and just very, like, yeah. And then somehow she knows how to defeat the crow.
Which is where we get to that scene because they realize what they got to do with him. And Top Dollar's spot is pretty badass, right? Doesn't it? He's up in that loft up in Detroit where he's got like all those weapons behind that deal in that big room. So then that cool scene where Eric Draven, he just busts up in the room and they're having this. It's Devil's Night a year later, and he's having a meeting with all the crime dudes, all the mafiosos that are in town. Basically, he runs the town, and he's saying, "Don't make little fires, just make this one giant fire and burn this place down," right? And then Eric just shows up. Does that scene remind you of any other scene from a movie, by the way? I might be being so random here, but
okay,
when Eric shows up,
has been referenced in so many things that because I had the same thought. I was like, where is the original one of these? Because I was going through like.
So this, to me, is the original because the scene I'm thinking of copied this. So I'm thinking Dark Knight when Joker walks in for the first time.
There are so many references. Do you know that Heath Ledger's makeup was done intentionally like Eric Draven?
So, exactly. That was something to me. The first time I saw Dark Knight, and when Joker walked in, I thought, oh my God, this is the scene from The Crow. This is it. Yeah, this is it. So that's so cool. I think to me that inspired that because he walks in and they just have this and he hops on the table and sits down and he just starts talking to him and tells him, and they just go on this, and it's like almost like a Matrix, like a pre-Matrix scene almost in a way, kind of. They're just shooting each other up. That is an awesome, awesome action scene. I love that scene. And then of course after that they end up, and then this scene that go later reminds me of the end of Tim Burton's Batman. Remember when they're in the church at the end of Batman?
Yes, I had that same thought too.
They walk in the church, and that's when his I can't remember Bai Ling. I can't remember her character's name in this film. I don't remember her name, unfortunately. But she says she knows that the crow's power is what has Eric's power. Get rid of the crow, get rid of it. So they get the bird, and they shoot the bird, and they wound the bird. And you see when he gets shot, he realizes he's mortal, right? Not mortal, he's still not alive, but he's not like super powerful anymore. And then there's that one scene which I don't really like, which kind of breaks a wall in a way when he sees Ernie Hudson character again, and he tells him, oh, I guess I'm mortal now because it's like this weird moment of like saying like I'm not mythic anymore, and it just kind of seemed real, and it kind of messed up the scene. That's the one scene I didn't like very much, but they go to the top of that joint, and he finally kills her, and Tony Todd's character, I think, right? He gets shot by, I think, who kills Tony Todd's character? I don't even remember how he died. But then there's the showdown, of course. They're up on the roof, and it's raining. And, he's got him in top. You think it's over, and Top Dollar Sign. You remind me of, my dad used to tell me this line and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then he tells him, oh, there's something that I want to give you, though. And he just takes all that energy and that 30 hours of pain that his girlfriend went through and just grabs him by the head and channels it to him and gives it to him. And in this like 10 seconds, he just transfers all this stuff to him. And it just wipes him out, and he falls off the roof and falls right onto that like spire, that gargoyle spire. Yeah, and that's the end of him. That was awesome. And then, of course, the cops show up, and Sarah shows, and everybody comes, and you see Eric finally at the end leave, and he crawls back to the cemetery, and his job is done, and the deed is done, right? And that's it. And I think there's a Nine Inch Nails song play at the end. So that's one part I want to get into too. So the movie I think is great, right? I think there's just to me, it's this. It's like a snapshot in time movie. It really is 1994, right? It's an MTV era movie, and that soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks. I literally sometimes, if I'm at home and I'm writing something, or I'm working on something, or I'm doing whatever, cleaning my house, I will go to YouTube and just play the Crow soundtrack, and I will play it the entire hour or so, and I love it. It starts with that song from The Cure, and it's Pantera, and it's My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, and it's Nine Inch Nails, and it's every band I love, and every band that was at the top of their game. And of course, that song that you hear from Stone Temple Pilots, Plush, or not Plush, maybe that's the song, that's from this movie. Like, that's a song that got played in repeat in the 90s nonstop, and it's from The Crow. So that, to me, like, that's it. It was the snapshot of 1994. It was that generation. It was that, just that way that was. And that, to me, was so great. And I found something so interesting. I've seen it maybe a dozen times now, right? And I was just looking at it the other day, and I was wondering that girl Sarah that played her. So I was of the age, and if you were a guy, you probably had a little crush on her at the time, probably, right? And I remember looking her up. She's one of these women who, she never really became an actress, though. She got big in that, kind of like Newt. Remember Newt from Aliens? The little girl from Aliens? She never really did anything, though, after that. But she got big from that. So I looked her up, and I wonder how old she was at the time. I'm not going to date myself here again. She is literally born like 10 days after I was.
Really?
Yes. The exact same age. So
wow.
I thought that was, I thought that was pretty crazy. I thought, wow, okay, that pretty right on. So interesting stuff. So yeah, like a great snapshot of that generation, right? That was just exactly it. I love the scenery, and it reminds me a lot of Batman.
It does.
I mentioned two Batman movies, but it reminds me of Tim Burton's Michael Keaton 1989 Batman. It's dark. The sun is never out. It's always cloudy. It's always rainy. It's always stormy. We live in this, I'm sorry, Detroit. We live in Detroit. It ain't the greatest city in the world, all right? And on Devil's Night, that's what happens. And it's always, crime-ridden, and it's dirty, and it's dingy, and it's gross, and I love it, right? But it's so great. Like, it's so dismal, and this guy brings hope, finally, to this city that's overrun by crime and all this stuff. And he's the hero, because he's not the anti-hero like Batman was. He's the hero, right? He really is. And he saves us, and he brings his girlfriend. He avenges his girlfriend, right? There's that one scene that near the end where you see her, Shelley. It's a flashback. She was walking down the street, and she's backlit, and she's very angelic. And that scene, to me, is like, it just, that, I don't know how to explain it, but only work in that film. It just works in that scene in this time, and it looks like 1994. I know I keep saying that, but it just looks like that. It's just perfect. It was such a generational, like, right at that time movie. That's a good example to be stuck in time, right? That's a good way to be stuck in time. I mean, I love it. But it's also timeless. You can kind of watch it like whenever, forever. It's not going to like be outdated, really.
Yeah.
I think cast is good. There's parts that aren't great. No movie's perfect, but overall, I really enjoy it though. Brandon Lee's good in it, I guess. And then you got to go to we can't talk about that movie without talking about what happened, right? So for those that don't know, I mean, I'm sure you do, but Brandon Lee was killed in this film. He was killed during the filming, and this was everyone who paid attention the last year or two at that film Rust, of course, where that the armor or whatever it was the director was killed by right? Was that what happened?
It was Helena Hutchinson. I hope I'm not butchering her name. That could be totally the wrong name. I'm terrible with them.
That sounds right.
but I think that I'm at least close.
Yeah.
But she was killed. She was the like one of the producers, I think, or
Yeah.
production people. And then the director was injured. And they really didn't update very much about how he is doing.
No, you got to
But
look it up.
this
They won't.
movie, The Crow, set precedent for
Yeah.
safety protocols surrounding
Well,
guns on
sort of.
sets.
Yeah. So I guess it was the scene where at the beginning of the film where it's the flashback and the dudes are breaking in, right? And it's the scene where Fun Boy shoots Eric. I think that's the scene. I don't know I don't know much about. Well, I mean, the bottom line is you need to stop using real weapons on set. I mean, that's as simple as you just have to stop doing it. I don't care. I understand how much passion goes into a film. I understand that, okay? And you want things to look real. You can make a pretty damn real-looking fake gun, okay? And there's things called sound effects, and we can do all those things. I'm sorry.
And there's CGI.
Yep.
Now.
I know people don't agree with this. I'm sorry, but anyway, too late for it. But I guess what happened was the round had, and it's just so stupid because it doesn't make sense. The round still had a piece of the explosive in it, I guess, but it was basically half a round or something like that.
Yes, yeah,
and something was still in the and the freaking prop master wasn't on the set, and it was a backup like prop master. So it was just like all these things led to this. This never should have happened, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was crazy because they had been using the gun with real bullets, and I think it was like a piece of the real bullet was still stuck in the barrel.
Yep.
So then the blank pushed that out, and they also didn't realize what happened right away because
he got shot in the stomach. He didn't like die right away.
Yeah.
But he was mortally wounded, right? Is what they say, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe he died at a hospital later, right?
Yeah. Super sad. He was like 24 years old.
It's just crazy. I mean, you look at what happened with his dad, of course.
I know.
And it's like, would he have been a good I don't know. I mean, that movie's pretty good. He's good, right? But it's just there's no sample size. There's just no sample size to say if he would have been any good, right? It's kind of like, to me, like in the sports world, when you look at like a case of like, for those that know about Len Bias, who played basketball at Maryland, who overdosed on cocaine before he got to play for the Celtics. Like, we know he was great in college, but we have no idea if he would have been any good. And it's like those moments of, it's just terrible because there's like a talent that we don't know that could have been lost. I mean, forget the talent. I mean, the person's life was lost, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious things that go into this, like, right. I realize that, you like, of course, the worst part is that the guy died. But I hear what you're saying. And I think anyone that's ever listened to this podcast probably knows you're like a very good person. So it's not like you're saying that.
Maybe. I mean, that's debatable, I think, at best. Probably. Come on, really? Nice is stretching it. Yeah, so that's just like a terrible thing. And that's what hangs over this movie, unfortunately. And so it almost never got made, quite frankly. They were going to shut it down. They were not very far along, and they were like, we're done. I think Paramount had it, and they were like, we're done. And Miramax stepped in and said, we'll take it, and we'll get his stunt double, and we'll use some effects, and we'll make this movie. And they added like another $10 million or something like that, and they did it.
Yeah, actually, they had a mask of his face that they tried using, but it freaked the cast out so bad they couldn't use it.
I know, I couldn't do
that.
But
they had like done a mask to use for his body double. So they like had it. Yeah. So it was like super like disturbing to everybody. And the guy whose name I apparently has fallen out of my brain, Michael Massey.
I don't know who he is. Who now?
He's Fun Boy.
Oh, he's Fun Boy. Okay, he's the one that he's the actor that pulled the trigger on that shot. Unfortunately, yeah, it sucks.
Which of course was not intentional. Also, in movies, you are supposed to not aim at the actor when you fire a firearm. So usually they would have aimed differently, but the way that they were shooting it with the camera angle, it just like it was certainly not his fault, but apparently he
No,
still like
no, it's
wakes
not.
up from like nightmares with it and everything. And he actually
Yeah, I
didn't
would
do
too.
another
It
movie
sucks.
until Seven. His
Yeah,
next movie was a minor
I
role in
mean,
Seven.
that's real stuff. I mean, that's really hard. That's really hard, and it's I don't know if you want to call that survivor's guilt. That's kind of going a little bit far, but I mean, it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, it's in your head, and it
It's
sucks, and I feel
definitely
bad for
PTSD.
and I feel bad for that
Yeah,
guy.
he died in 2016 and he never watched the movie.
Is that right? I did not know
Hmm.
that. Yikes! Oh man. Well, you know what? Of course, the film is dedicated to him, obviously. But
Yes, and his fiance, because she gave her blessing to
yeah,
continue the project.
yeah, she did. That's right. So yeah, you got to wonder what would have come of his career. It's too bad. Yeah, because Bruce Lee was like 32 when he died or something. He's super
He was
young.
super young. And
Yeah,
also, the other thing is, Brandon Lee had to lose 40 pounds for this role,
because
which was,
Bruce Lee was a small dude. Brandon Lee was a much bigger dude than his dad, wasn't he? Yeah.
but Bruce Lee had like quasi eating disorder. I mean, I don't want to diagnose him. What I have read is that he had eating disorders later in life, and that was
Interesting.
later in his life, which was not late in anyone's life because he was like
Okay.
32.
32. Yeah.
But yeah, he had some really serious disordered eating issues apparently.
Wow. That's
And
too
so
bad.
it was like such a weird thing to me to find out that he had to lose 40 pounds for that role. That must have been like a really like weird.
That's a lot of weight to lose. God,
That's a
man.
lot of weight to lose.
That's a lot of running and drinking water and doing it. Yeah, that's a
And
lot.
no
Wow.
beer. I mean,
Oh, he
not.
may not have drank anyway, so who knows?
That's
But
true. That's true.
that's not a big deal. Wow, that's interesting. So I man, I kick myself for I made one of my favorite trips I made was in 2019. I made a Oregon through Washington loop, and I went to a bunch of places from TVs and movies that I needed to go to, and I didn't even realize this until I was on my way back to Portland near the end of the trip, and I realized because I was so caught up in going to see where Kurt Cobain's house was in the park next to his house. I hadn't been yet, and that was what I was really wrapped up in. And I realized I forgot because I stopped in Renton where Jimi Hendrix is buried, and I
Oh.
forgot to go to the cemetery in Seattle where Brandon and Bruce Lee are buried. And I realized, oh God, I forgot to go. So next time I will go to visit them. So.
I mean, it's a beautiful place to visit. So I haven't been to the cemetery. I just meant the
Seattle?
Pacific Northwest.
Oh well, Portland's my spot. That's one of my homes. But Seattle, we don't like you because Portland people don't like Seattle, and Seattle people don't like Portland. So it's okay. It's a love-hate thing. Anyway, but moving on. But I like the fact that the one thing about that movie that's cool is that they set it in an actual city because it's not like it's some quote unquote Gotham city and you don't really know where it is. They said it's Detroit. This is actually like in Detroit, which is really cool. So yeah, lots of stuff I really enjoy. And I think, I said it's not a horror film. Fair enough. It's not. It's an action, whatever. But it's dark and it's got that theme. And I don't know if it's just
scary.
You know what? I think any horror film like a fan like myself probably loves this movie just as much as I do. So I think we're okay. So
I think so too.
I've rambled for eternity. So I need you to tell me your thoughts on this film.
Okay, so I really, really liked it. I hadn't seen it.
Ever?
No, I
Until
wasn't.
now?
I wasn't allowed to see it.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And yeah, I had always wanted to see it. But I was like, I don't know. I guess Philippe my husband isn't like into movies like that are dark or scary in any sort of way. So it has to be when we're not hanging out together.
All right.
And I mean, this thing barely made an R rating. So I get why my parents didn't let me see it. They had to submit it 5 times to MPAA.
So many movies have to end up doing this. It's crazy, right? I know.
Yeah, that 5 edits to get the R down from NC-17. So I asked my brother this weekend.
It's not that violent though. It's not.
It's really not.
It's stylized really violence. It's stylized violence. It's guns going off and things you don't see in like effect. It's not. I've seen so many rated R films that are so much worse than this. Yes.
I think it's the themes. I think that's what was
maybe.
like getting them. And I also am kind of curious if the like low key incest situation might have
That could play a part. It's certainly in there. Yeah.
But the things that we think of as being like what would make it an R-rated movie, like, are not as bad as what we would see today.
No, there's definitely blood, and there's definitely, you know what I bet gave it, well, the knives, and well, I was gonna say one of the scenes that I love, of course, is that scene where after he kills after he kills Fun Boy. No, not Fun Boy. God, why can't I remember these names? Right, dude,
Tintin?
that T-Bird. God, took me from. I'm so sorry. I've seen the movie 1,000 times. I can't remember. T-Bird, when he kills him, is when he takes the gas and his blood, I think, and he makes that crow symbol and he lights it with the lighter, and it goes off. That was awesome, but I think the one that may have gotten him was when he kills Tintin and he makes the crow symbol with all the blood. Probably that probably was not well received by people at the time.
Probably not. It's so different because we have such a. I mean And even the fact that they were able to use CGI in the way that they did in that time period was shocking as I was like watching it and reading about it in the moment. I was shocked that CGI was that level of advanced. And
if you hadn't known he was dead, would you ever have known he died during that shooting of that film?
No, and
no, never. They did a great job.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. And
I would have no idea.
There are a couple other things here with that, but one of the big rumors about the Crow is that Brandon Lee, the scene where he is murdered is in the movie, and that is not true.
Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Although murder is not the right word to use here. I was thinking of his character being murdered.
Yeah,
but...
no, we know. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I know exactly what you meant. I know what you meant.
Just for clarity.
Yes.
But yeah, that scene where like they didn't use that scene. And
let me tell you something. If I had shot that, and even if it was the best scene I'd ever shot in my entire life, I would never have used it because someone actually died. That would, like, I'd probably go straight to hell or something for doing that. No, my God, no.
I don't know how you could do anything other than.
And I would burn. I would press delete.
Yeah.
Get it out of my life. I don't ever want to see that again. Get rid of it. Gone.
I don't think I would have even watched it. Like I think it would be traumatic to experience in
that
the
was shot
moment.
on film, of course. I would have burned the film. I would lit it on fire. Goodbye. Yep. Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
I don't want this anywhere near me. Terrifying. So, wow. Yeah, that's heavy stuff. But I can't believe you've never seen it before. Wow. That's fabulous.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So this
great.
was like a good excuse for me to watch it. And then when I pulled the trivia, there were all these things that I had forgotten because this came out. I was pretty young when this came out. I mean, I don't mind dating myself.
I've dated myself before. It's okay.
But I was young enough that there's no way my parents would have let me see this. Although they let me read Silence of the Lambs in 4th grade. And
nice.
I am telling
you.
Great
book. Thomas Harris. Yeah.
These are not.
You know what? That makes sense because you know what? I can see the justification. It's a novel. It's a book. You're learning. It's reading. It's not some film. People find film to be trash. Where they think of a book. Oh, it's a book. It's probably a great piece of fiction to read. Right? I get that. I can see
my
that.
mom read it first. I can
totally see that
too. It's not like they didn't know.
Oh, you know what? I tell people all the time. So, you know what? Okay, so Bram Stoker's Dracula came out in 1992, okay? And I think we talked about this when we did our review of it. This is a side note here, but this is just funny. So, I'll go ahead and date myself, right? So, I was 12 years old when that movie came out, all right? So, I could not go to a rated R movie unless somebody brought me with me, right? So, it was one of those old jokes, right, where I remember going to see it. My mom took me to see it. She wanted to see Dracula. Of course, I wanted to. And she was like, yeah, I want to see it. So it's one of those funny things, though, when you see like kids, kids would want to make fun at that time. Like your mom did this, your dad, whatever, or something like that. But I was like, yeah, my mom's pretty cool. She took me to see Dracula. And they were all like, no, your mom is the best. Yeah, she is. Because I went to go see. They were all like, "I want to see Dracula. Oh my god, how am I ever going to see it?" I saw it. What? I saw it. So
parents are people. They're just people.
yeah, they are. They're just old when you're young. That's all.
Yeah, and you just like assume that they know a whole bunch more than you.
Yeah.
And
she wanted to see. She loved it. She thought it was great. Yep, we had a great time. It was awesome.
That's hysterical.
Definitely envious of the rest of my kids that were in, 6th, 7th grade, whatever, with me at the time. They were like, "You got to see Dracula." I said, "Yes, I did." Anyway, moving on.
That is amazing. Your mom.
Yeah, it was great. I know.
Whenever I meet her, I'm giving her a high five.
It was a good moment. All right, so you were not allowed to watch The Crow, but now you got to see it as an adult, which is wonderful. I'm glad you gotten to see it.
Thank you for giving me an excuse.
What are your thoughts on the soundtrack? Are you a fan as much as I am, or?
Oh, I loved it. And actually, I was looking into the history of the soundtrack, which I know I am a weird person, but whatever. That's why we're here.
I routinely listen to the soundtrack, so that song, The Badge, that song, The Badge by Pantera, is such an awesome song.
Oh my god, the whole soundtrack is so good, and
you do have the Annie Lennox whatever at the end, which I don't know. I like that song very much, but every song not every song can be great.
I don't remember that, so I must have deleted it from my brain.
That's it can't rain all the time. It's lame.
Oh,
it's the last track. Yeah.
Did she write that for?
I think it's Annie Lennox. I could be very wrong, but I think it's her. I want to say it's written. I think I've overstepped my boundaries of knowledge at this point. I don't think I really am accurate with whatever I'm giving you. So it's my least favorite song on the soundtrack. How about that?
So, author of the graphic novel's name is insert.
Well, it's James O'Barr, and for those that are watching this episode on YouTube, here it is. This is the Crow Special Edition, the graphic novel. I've owned it for quite some time. I've read it once or twice. I'll just a few pages to read. It's different than the movie, and actually, I believe there are a few different drafts and a few different. I think he actually ended up making like a series with this too, which I never read. I own this original 100-something page one, which is like the one. But then there are some other versions and whatnot. But anyway, it's different than the movie. We ruin movies on this show, but I don't like to ruin books, so I'm not going to ruin that for you. But I suggest you go watch it. I suggest you go read it. It's very cool. A lot of the look and the stuff from the film were taken from this. It's kind of accurate. Like the buildings and the stuff like that are cool, and the cars, and so I really enjoy it. It's very good.
So apparently, Alex. Oh God, I'm the worst at this.
The director.
Yes,
Alex,
how do you say his last name?
I don't know if I know how to pronounce it. I say Proyas, but I'm not quite sure about that. So, Alex, if you're listening, we're very sorry. Come on the show sometime.
We are going with that because you know better than me, generally speaking. So he originally wanted to shoot the entire movie in black and white, so it would be closer to the actual comic,
almost like a Sin
graphic
City
novel
kind of thing would have been, right? Kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And he only wanted.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I actually think so too. And I think it would have been well received now, but back then I don't think it would have been.
Easy solution. Download it, rip it, drop it in your editor, put your desaturate black and white filter on it, spit it back out and watch it yourself in black and white. Done.
There you go.
I just so
they were only they were only going to do the flashback scenes that Draven has in color with that, or they were going to have that like super high contrast. But the studio, they were like, not a chance. We are not doing this. And so they ended up like actually staging the whole thing to be monochromatic with just pops of red and dark gray.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about those movies like that and Batman. It's just everything is so dark and dingy, but at the same time, it's not black and white. It is in color. You just got to use and put your color in where you need it. That's very cool.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was such a fascinating. The other thing I thought was crazy is that they use miniatures, and I did not notice that when
For
I
like the
watched it.
cities, yeah, like the opening scene where they're showing burning Detroit. Yeah,
The
definitely.
car
Yeah.
chases,
Yep.
all
Yep.
of that, because they didn't have
And
the
it
space
works.
to do
It
any car
works.
chases. Yeah.
And it works, and it's kind of surreal, which makes it very cool, right?
Yeah. And I guess I
Yeah.
was so distracted by the cinematography of it that I didn't notice.
It's very cool. I like it a lot. Um, I was going to mention one thing about this setup and everything. Now, not because it was in this movie or it'd be cool because it was a scene, whatever. But can I live in their apartment? How badass is that apartment, though? For real.
That apartment
With
is
that giant
used.
window that looks out, that apartment is badass.
That
I want to live
apartment
there.
is used in oh my God, what is that
Oh,
TV
is it in something
show?
else?
It is in a recent
No
something
kidding.
else.
So where did they shoot this then? On a set somewhere then?
It's like I can actually answer that. That's part of my
See?
trivia.
Let's do it.
So okay. So I think it's The Prodigal Son. It's like a
Never
TV
heard of it.
show about a serial killer that like the dad is a serial killer and the son is the one that turned him in. It's
Never heard of
not
it.
great, but it's not terrible.
What is it on?
TV.
Oh, yeah, that one. I've heard of that. They make really good stuff. Yeah.
Like real TV.
Yeah.
It's probably on streaming services as well.
Some of us, I raise my hand. I still watch television. It's okay, guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I can watch The Simpsons on Disney Plus, but I choose every day to watch it on TV for some reason.
Because it reminds you of watching The Simpsons 20 years ago when you were a kid.
Probably. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so they did a bunch of cost cutting on this set because
Shocking.
yeah, I mean, obviously. So the crew said that they were trying to make a $30 million movie for $18 million, which in 1994 money
That's
is
half your budget.
That is a ton of money, though. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a
that's
lot of money.
big budget.
That's a lot of money.
So it was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yes, that's right. That's why I read that. Yes.
Because North Carolina is a right to work state. So they allowed the producers to get away with pay conditions. And like they ended up filming like poor pay and conditions. And then they ended up changing the production schedules because they wanted to film outdoors at night. But then a hurricane came through and destroyed all of their sets.
What hurricane was it?
Oh,
what was 94, 93? I'm trying to remember which storm that was. Yeah, because I mean, obviously that part of the country, North Carolina, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, it gets hit hard with hurricanes. Underrepresented in discussions, I think. Poor North Carolina in that, but
it's a beautiful place though.
So they did not switch. They had to move indoors, but they would not switch the schedule because it was such a production to change from filming nights to days, and it would have required a 24-hour turnaround. So they just kept going with the night schedule. And apparently it was so cold that the camera rails had to be de-iced.
Wow.
During filming by riggers with blow torches hiding out of shot, which is super on brand for the entire vibe of the movie.
Right? How about that? That's pretty interesting.
I thought that was really interesting too. And I thought you would think this was interesting because for some reason you always love when I bring this like weird, like who was in the line to play the actors or the other actors that were being considered. So River Phoenix and Christian Slater turned down Eric Draven.
Wow.
And James O'Barr wanted Johnny Depp to play him. Okay,
I love Johnny Depp, but I don't know that I could see him as Eric Draven. I don't know about that. Maybe. Oh, okay.
I feel like I might have been able to see it better before Pirates of the Caribbean because then I just kind of like go there with him, like into what would have been as Eric Draven overacting. But I actually think he could have done a really good job. Like if you don't stand in the time period where we are currently in the time.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where you after it's been done and you saw the person play it, it's hard to think of somebody else doing it. It's just kind of hard to think about that, right?
Yeah, it's always super weird, and I can't wait to tell you about the lineup that was potentially cast for the next movie we're recording about, but no spoilers.
No spoilers. It's not what we do on this show. We don't spoil anything, but we don't spoil episodes. Anyway. Okay, Johnny Depp. Interesting. All right.
Isn't that fascinating? So here's the other weird thing about acting, even though this is probably not what you would line up in acting, but even though, it's obviously called The Crow, I don't know if you noticed this, none of the birds in the movie are crows.
What kind of birds are they?
They're ravens.
They're ravens? Okay, is there a reason for that then?
Because they're much larger.
They need to look more like, imposed. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Not much of a, what do you call a bird watcher? And a bird watcher?
A birder.
A birder. I'm not much of a birder, so I don't know much about that. But okay, good to know though. Whenever I see like a crow or something or a bird, I think about that movie and I think about that scene. And I like the beginning too when she mentions it's that girl Sarah saying, the crow is said to carry the soul of a person or whatever, and that's that kind of cool little voiceover. I like that too.
I feel like I think I read that they added that later.
They should. Yeah, it's good. It works.
I might be wrong.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it. I think I'm wrong.
There's a chance you're wrong.
I think I'm wrong. I've been wrong here before. I don't want to be wrong again.
We're never wrong on this show. What are we talking about?
I believe the exact quote that came out of your mouth was, if you think that any Halloween is better than John Carpenter's first version of Halloween, you would be wrong.
I said that?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. And it is accurate. Yeah. Yes. There's good ones, but if you think anything's better than that, you are what did I say? You're incorrect?
You are wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yes, you are. That's right.
It's true. You were not wrong in saying that.
That is a true statement. I wasn't wrong in saying it, nor was it not a fact. Yes. So it's absolutely true.
Okay, you want the rest of my trivia roundup?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So the line that he says, "I see you've made your decision. Now let's see you enforce it." I thought this was like such a weird callback, but it's kind of fascinating. It's taken from a statement that President Andrew Jackson said regarding a Supreme Court ruling. And the line was altered from, "That's John Marshall's decision. Now let's see him enforce it."
That's a very random quote.
Isn't that super weird?
I mean, you got to be a history buff or something to really come up with that. I don't know what to say about that. That's interesting. All right, cool.
Okay, so production was so troubled, and I'm going to go into why in a second. But the neighboring productions at the studio started taking bets on mishaps, and then fires destroyed their sets as well.
That's terrible. I did not know this.
They stopped taking bets. So several accidents that befell the production crew, leading up to widespread belief that the film was cursed. So a carpenter suffered serious burns on his upper body. It does happen all the time. During the first day of filming, a manual worker, I also read somewhere that this was a producer, so take that with a grain of salt. I didn't dig deep enough. He's accidentally embedded a screwdriver in his hand. Nice. An equipment truck burst into flames. A stuntman broke several ribs after falling from a roof. A rigger was horribly electrocuted.
Damn.
A disgruntled sculptor, set sculptor, went berserk and drove his car through the props room, destroying it. And the hurricane, of course, destroyed several sets. And that's not including, Brandon Lee. and his
I hear
untimely
these stories
death.
and these films about all the time about how they're cursed and all this stuff, and I mean, these things just, I don't know, they're not things that happen like your office job, right? Obviously, they're not, and they're happening on sets, and clearly they're, I don't know, the Poltergeist set and the Exorcist set and all these movie sets where all these things happen, and it makes you wonder if there's something to it. I don't know what to say. That's it's spooky, I guess. I don't know, right?
It is, I get it, but also like the logistics and the like the things that they're using. I mean, they're using
Yes.
flamethrowers like
Yeah,
to
you're
de-ice,
building your own electrical grid. You're building your own. Yes, those things
Yes.
are going to happen. Someone's going to get electrocuted. So, a stuntman breaking ribs. Come on, it's not like that's a strange thing. It's a stuntman,
No.
for God's sakes. Yeah, you're right. That's the nature of that work. Those things do happen. They do. But you always hear these stories, and it's always kind of funny. Well, it's not funny,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
Well, it's not funny, haha. It's funny,
No.
like ironic.
It's ironic, yes, isn't it, or something maybe, or it's just makes you wonder kind of thing. So
yeah, it just kind of makes you think.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my last fact.
All right.
Prior to filming, and I'm kind of curious if you knew this,
Okay.
Brandon Lee had a morbid fascination with death, and he drove around in a hearse he owned. He visited famous graves, and he did all of that while listening to the Doors.
Okay, well, the Doors, first of all, is one of the greatest bands of all time. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why that got thrown in there.
Because they're one of the greatest bands of all time. All right?
I'm not sure why that would be a morbid fascination with death, I guess, but
I don't know, but the Doors are amazing, and if you don't listen to them, you need to get on board. So usually we used to always have a tie-in with music on this show, so there's your tie-in with that. The Doors are amazing, one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time. So that's awesome, but I don't really know what to say about that, though. He just drove around thinking about death, and then he died on a set. That's very, very strange.
it's very
I almost
strange.
wonder if
It's
that's
very
made
sad.
up. It's just like, okay.
It's true. I did not see it with my own eyes, so there's
I don't
a chance
know.
that
Who knows?
it is.
But yeah, interesting. Yeah,
And actually, because we want to bring it back to music,
yes,
you might appreciate this.
right.
James O'Barr,
Mhm.
while he was writing the Crow graphic novel, he listened to The Cure the entire time, and that is
Okay.
why The Cure is on the soundtrack.
Awesome. So I don't really particularly care for The Cure much, really, but that song they have is wonderful. It might be one of my favorite songs on that soundtrack. I really like it. I mean, Nine Inch Nails is on there, which I love them, but very cool. Yeah, just FYI, I'm not ruining this, but yeah, the James O'Barr book, his wife died in a car accident, drunk driver, and that is why he wrote this story. Like, it's his way to work through whatever his pain was. So it's just interesting tidbit there. But okay, so last piece here, the only thing left to discuss is thoughts on the remake, because it's done. They finally shot it after being in development hell forever. They shot it. It's done. It's been sent to festivals, and they're trying to find the distributor now. Bill Skarsgård, who was Pennywise, he is Eric Draven. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. But I will see this film. I will see it, and we have to go into it. Remakes me, I have to go in. I've never seen the original. I don't know anything about it. Right? Texas Chainsaw remake. I don't know what that original is. What's the Halloween remake? Well, Rob Zombie made that. That was a different story. It was so gung ho. You just have to look at them as if you know some of the story, but you don't know anything else.
They're isolated.
That's hard to
from
do.
Each other. Like
You
you
have to separate
them.
You have to, and then afterwards you can sit there and be like, "This is a piece of shit." Like Pet Sematary remake. I mean, God, that was just. Wow.
I never saw it.
Don't worry about it, because wow.
Yeah, I feel like if you can't go into it with that mindset, don't see it.
That wasn't the problem.
I couldn't go into Pet Sematary with that mindset. I knew
it's one of my favorites. It was just so poorly done. It's just such a poorly made movie. It's just so bad. Anyway, I want to see it. I want to see this remake, and I'm curious. I would think within the next 6 months to a year. I would think, right? We got to get it, hopefully. Yeah, I want to see it. I hope it's good. But it won't touch this. I mean, this will be left alone. And, again, it's a snapshot of time, but it's also like timeless, right? So,
yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Don't be like Sarah and wait for, a million years to go see it.
like 2/3 of my life.
And where can you watch it? On TV.
On TV.
On TV. So
I watched it on Amazon Prime and it was $1.64.
I watched it for free on TV, on demand. You know what's crazy? I don't own the DVD, if you can believe that. I realized I didn't own that, but I don't. So anyway.
Oh, interesting.
No, I don't. So great movie. I loved it. Any last thoughts on The Crow?
I thought it was really well done. I'm glad that I had an excuse to watch it.
Good. You should need one, but now you don't from now on. Every time you want to watch, you don't need one.
Yes. Also, I would watch it with the lights out because you can see the details much better than when you turn the lights on.
Dark, scary movie. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Good movie you can watch it on Devil's Night, right? There you go. There's your
We called it Mischief Night.
There you go. My favorite is Cabbage Night. It can be your new pre-Halloween film. You can watch The Crow on Devil's Night, and then you can watch obviously Halloween on Halloween. So you're good. You got everything you need now. I'm helping you guys with your lineup. So anyway, you guys know the deal. You love us obviously because you're listening, but you want to love us more. So please continue to support us on all our social medias and like us on the Facebook and send us suggestions. Like if you want to see a movie that isn't maybe a scary movie, but it's close like this, maybe you want to see it. Okay, great. Let us know, please. Review, rate, all that good stuff. Sarah, where we tell people where to find you. Of course, we always do. We always want to keep the fans informed.
You can find me over at Laughing with Gingers on your favorite podcasting app, where I share lots of trivia. And Matt is coming on again soon. So. Oh
yes, I am. I don't know what we're talking about, but I can't wait. So, just give me a topic when I join, and I'm ready to go. That's it. That's all I need. But yeah, for now, The Crow, wonderful, and we'll catch you guys next time. And don't forget, Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel.
The Scary Movie Project podcast. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.